Yeah. Okay, back to the phones. Open line Friday. Susan in, well, it says up here, I'm just going to say Powhatan, Virginia. Is that right?
You've got it.
Oh, cool. Well, it's great to have you. Thank you.
That was perfect. Well,
I'm used to that.
Excited to have gotten through to you. I just cannot believe I did this. So, but you're on my caller list. I just keep pushing send. But
that's what you have to do, because at one of those times that you're going to reach that moment in time where a previous caller is dispatched, we disconnect and you connect at just the right time.
Well, let me tell you, I've traveled through 2 states holding for you, so it was well worth it, and it's just such an honor. A few weeks ago, you had come on your Friday show, and you had said something similar to apologizing for sometimes being boring. And I've never tried to call your show before, and I've been trying ever since. You are not boring. You are amazing. I love listening to you. Just the whole time here I've been listening to you. And what you said to Annie was absolutely awesome. I have children, and you've put stuff into my children's heads just by them listening to you, because they hear me say, oh, listen to him. It's well worth it. And but one thing you should have told Annie is that she needs to remember that she's an American, and she has every right to believe in what she believes.
That's a good point. Because I really, it might not sound like it, I held back. She's 14. I kind of held back in describing for her what I really think of liberals, but you've nailed it. I mean, these are people that will do anything they can to deny other Americans constitutional rights if liberals think they can get away with it. Take away their guns, for example, or what have you. And it's these people, they are, especially teachers, they have been taught how to indoctrinate and propagandize and so forth. But you are really
a good word for them is they're thick-headed. Because I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and we were always very close. And that first election for Obama, I had a brother who was so Obama, and I've always been one to speak my mind. And we spent some time with him, and ever since that time with him, we are not close anymore, and that hurts.
I know. Isn't it amazing how that we had a story here we had a caller describe what Thanksgiving is like at his house. Oh my gosh, I wish I could remember this off the top of my head. It was amazing what has happened to this family. The games they play, and the contests they have, or the things that the liberal members of the family don't put up with and don't tolerate. It was flat out amazing. It'll come to me as I think about it, because you have jogged that memory. Well, look, I appreciate your call. You've made my day, Susan. You're very kind. You flatter me beyond belief, and I thank you sincerely for it. And you know what, Susan, I want to send you a signed copy of my book, too. So if you will hang on.
Can I tell you one thing, though?
Yeah.
It's very important, because you brought up the commercial for McAuliffe and Cuccinelli, and I got a phone call this week at my home office from the Democratic Party. And it was one of those recorded calls for McAuliffe. And I called back and I asked them to take my number off their list. Well, at the same time I'm thinking, wait, I have an unlisted number. I have blocked calls. No one has my number. And I called to
the
find out
Clintons
how
do.
they got it, and they kept hanging up on me.
The Clintons have everybody's number, and the Clintons had a lot of people's FBI files. So it's not surprising that McAuliffe could get your number or his campaign. Anyway, I thank you again, and this is a great example. These last 2 great examples of open line Friday calls. Now, Susan, hang on, because Mr. Snerdley is going to get your address so I can sign a copy of my new book upcoming on October 29th and get it out to you. Thanks much. The Gang of 5. Here's who the Gang of 5 is in that ad. The Gang of Five is the feminist leadership, the elitist media, and then I saw Chris Matthews' picture as one of the examples of elite media in the ad. Anti-American front groups, left-wing liberals, and Hollywood partisans. Those are the Gang of Five, as represented in the ad that we played for you. So just so you'll know, I figured that out and wanted to pass it on. Another brief timeout. We'll continue with much more after this, so don't go away. I was reminded what it was. It was the guy who called us and said that at Thanksgiving, half of his family, or whatever percentage, is a bunch of liberals, a bunch of commie SOBs. And he decided to have a game with them. He and his family love 2If So they decided to have a blind tea tasting test. They took the labels off the tea, and they asked people of different kinds of tea, including 2If and they did tasting. And the liberals in his family all said 2If was the best. Then he told them that it was 2If that it was my tea, and they freaked out. They got genuinely mad. They accused him of tricking them. It caused great acrimony. There had to be negotiations over the rest of the Thanksgiving Day holiday for the family to get along, because it caused all kinds of acrimony. And it was hilarious. That, listen to this. We ought to drag that call out of the archives. It went on a long time, but I mean, it was classic. And it's a great illustration of who these people are. Here they were tasting the tea, best tea they've ever had. They loved it, found out it was mine, and no way. They thought they had just committed a sacrilegious sin, that there was the worst thing that could have happened. They felt dirty and all this stuff. It was just, it's irrational. I mean, why get mad over something like that, even if they thought they were being tricked? But they did. Acrimony in a family over that. Here's Therese in